Good morning. We are live, Breakfast with the Broker, every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. And, we have a real treat for you because in this digital age, you need a digital strategy. And we are going to talk to one of the chief digital strategists that I admire and love and does a really, really amazing job. And he's going to give us a lot of tips and tricks to help improve your digital strategy for 2021. First thing I want to say is, listen, hopefully everyone had a happy Thanksgiving. May have been smaller gatherings, but we have so much to be thankful for. And I know 2020 isn't exactly the way that most people would have projected, but we have so much to be grateful for. And we continue to be thankful and appreciative of all our viewership and Breakfast with the Broker. And who could imagine, 3 years later, that this is what Breakfast with the Broker has morphed into. So we certainly appreciate it. Lots of love. And without further ado, and now, by way of Baltimore, Maryland, he is the Director of Brokerage Partnerships and Strategy for HomeSnap. He's a lover of all things, and especially Marie Callender's French silk pie. He is Bill Kauffman.
Good morning. Wow, you went deep in the Facebook profile for that one.
I did. I think it was 2017 or so.
I stand by the Marie Callender's French silk pie and the peanut butter pie as well. That's another one of my favorites.
It's good stuff. We used to have a place, I don't know if we still do, we might still do. We used to have a place in South Florida called Upper Crust. And all they did was make cakes and pies, and most of them were like Marie Callender's, and it was amazing. Anyway, so that's how I got to be, that's and not like you. You're like thin and like look like you work out and stuff.
I only buy Marie Callender's when it's on sale for $5.99 at Harris Teeter.
You must not be married because you're still looking pretty good.
I am. So
you are married. Oh, geez.
That's why I can only get it every once in a while, Dave.
Just kidding. So, listen, thank you very much, Bill, for I guess we switched or whatever. It's amazing. I mean, when you look at digital strategies and things that you're doing on a daily basis, certainly has changed in 2020, and quite honestly, for the better. As many bad things have happened in 2020, there have been some amazing things that have happened in 2020, and part of that is agents having to embrace digital strategies, whether they wanted to or not, or whether they were ready to or not.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and it's interesting too. We're getting to a point where not only are we as agents embracing it more fully in our business, not just from the transaction side, but also from the advertising and lead generation side as well. But we're getting smarter about it. And we're starting to ask the questions, well, what do I want to get out of it? What is going to be my ROI at the end of the day? And we're using the data that Google is putting out there through their thought pieces, Facebook is putting out there through their case studies. We're taking it in and we're applying it to our own business. Because every agent and every agent's business is different, and it's just a matter of what they want to accomplish in their digital advertising strategy. Some want to drive traffic to a website, others want to actually lead generate and have people to call. So it just depends on what we're doing, but we're getting smarter about it, which is a good thing.
We always want to connect communities, and connecting communities, used to be door knocking and putting flags and pumpkins on people's doors and stuff like that. And obviously 2020 has changed that a little bit. What is maybe a suggestion to you if someone is, trying to get entrenched in like kind of a farming, maybe they do some traditional direct mail marketing, what digital strategy would you suggest if we're looking for maybe more community-based?
Yeah, so that's a really good point. The way I approach and think about Facebook and Instagram, and I'll just use those two because at the end of the day, those are going to be our two biggest social media platforms and where the eyeballs are. I mean, 80 million Americans sign into Facebook every single day. Just think about how big that is. So right then and there, that's where you need to start. Facebook and Instagram, concentrate 80% of your time on those two platforms. When I think about building a farm digitally, I think about what you need to do to spark conversations on Facebook and Instagram. And that should be the theme that you think about when it comes to the content you're putting out there consistently. And then also with your digital advertising that you're doing to promote your listings or your brand. Because at the end of the day, the way I think of Facebook is just 20, 30 years ago when you bump into somebody at the grocery store, right? Or you're doing the door knocking, you're sparking a conversation. And it ultimately leads, because you're a great ReMax agent, talking about real estate, what the house sold for down the street. Are you thinking about moving because little Johnny is about to go to high school? And so you might be switching school districts, different things like that. So when you think about your strategy, look at what conversations are being sparked consistently in one of your farms. So I'll give you a perfect example in my neighborhood, right? Baltimore, Maryland, Federal Hill. My neighborhood is consistently a first-time homebuyer neighborhood, with people then moving up out into the county when they start to have kids. I can tell you right now, your typical average seller is someone who bought a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom row house for $250 to $320, and about 5 years after they bought it, they've had their first kid, and they're probably pregnant with their second kid. Now, if I'm thinking about farming my neighborhood, I'm looking at all of the mom and dad groups on Facebook, and I'm engaging there from a conversation standpoint to be in front of them at any point. I'm also thinking about showcasing that price point on just solds, or consistently showing things from a market report standpoint. So providing information and content that way, but then also constantly advertising my listings and my just solds over and over again. I know in the one ReMax group recently, Tavia and Kayla did a little class on content is king, but consistency is queen. That's it. Just be consistent, have conversations, and then know your farm and tailor your content and your consistency to that particular person you're trying to farm at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, those are some great points because, I think when people are looking at farm areas, right, your traditional marketing methods would be, all right, well, how many homes are there, what's your turnover and all these different things. But, what you're not looking at is the end consumer, who those people are, who's moving there, who's selling, who's buying, and those kind of things. And right now, I mean, I'm not sure about Baltimore, Maryland, but it's pretty safe to say that it's probably a robust market now as well. And we want people going after listings. I mean, agents and going after listings because, there is so little inventory right now that any listing, if if you stage it or if it shows well, it's selling for ridiculous top dollar. I think I was telling you.
Here's an interesting point about the data. Google recently released a study. They did it over the course of about a year. They tracked about 1,500 buyers, about 800 renters, all right? Out of the 1,500 buyers, what they found was 46% of them were either casual or serious buyers, all right? Now, 26% of that 46 were serious buyers. They were pulling the trigger, buying a house within the next month, 2 months, 3 months, right? But that 20%, what they found was that's actually the long-term success with online lead generation. That's when you're going to see your 5, 6x ROI because you're going to hook that casual buyer. They're going to maybe be looking and starting their buying process, wondering how much they can afford or what their house is worth compared to some of the other ones that are selling in the neighborhood, right? But they don't have a need to move just yet. And that casual buyer is someone who's clicking on a Facebook ad or an Instagram ad, let's say 6 months before they become a serious buyer. And so those are the ones you want to think about when you're tailoring, especially your digital advertising. You want to think about your message to those individuals. Then also you want to make sure you have a game plan for converting them at the end of the day, because it is a process along the way, just like their searching is a process along the way.
Yeah, I mean, your message and your presentation, I mean, it's everything, right? So, with Facebook's, new strategies where, it basically puts the consumer, in control in that what they want to see on their news feed, right? They could hide you, they could snooze you, they could do all these different things. How do you get that message in presentation so you're not hidden as much as you think you might be?
Ooh, that's tough. I mean, hey, let's just call it what it is. Facebook is a wonderful tool to connect with family, friends, see photos. Sometimes a crazy uncle goes on a political rant every now and then. But, well, thank God Thanksgiving was a lot smaller this year than normal. But at the end of the day, Facebook is designed to be just an advertising tool. And their algorithms, as much as we want to push out our organic content on our Facebook business page, really only 3% of the people that like our Facebook business page will actually see our content in their newsfeed. That's just the reality. And so there are a couple of things that you can do to tweak that a little bit, but it's not going to be something where you change or dramatically increase that 3% of viewers. And that's really where having a consistency in your digital advertising strategy works. Because the one thing I know is consumers, buyers or sellers, they love clicking on properties and they are curious about properties, what it sells for, what they can buy it for, different things like that. And so that's where Megaphone has really taken sort of the baton in the race and decided, hey, we're going to think about automation so that an agent can consistently set up a budget and just push out advertising on both platforms so that it's just in front of those consumers, whether they are starting their casual searching or when they're seriously looking, so that that agent is in the right place at the right time to connect with them.
So, and you referred to Megaphone, and Megaphone is powered by HomeSnap and their technology, and Megaphone is proprietary to ReMax. But is that correct? Just making sure.
Yeah. So HomeSnap actually has an exclusive relationship with ReMax.
Right.
It's the only brokerage that does, which is exciting. I don't have to deal with Coldwell Banker agents or Compass agents.
Well, and to kind of broadcast, I mean, we're broadcasting, to all different agents and all different brands, and it's a collaborative thing. No, listen. I mean, when you look at, all different brands, right? They all have something, to offer, and not everything is, the message is not always, I'm not, not everyone wants to be with ReMax. Not everyone wants to be with Coldwell Banker. Not everyone wants to be Compass or KW or whatever. And I think every single one of these agents, are looking for, I was reading on a group and real quick, as I go on a tangent, but real quick, I was reading on a group and they were talking about, well, how much do you pay your brokerage, right? And I'm like, well, first of all, who asked that? Like, how much do you pay your brokerage? Well, quite honestly, when you look at it, it's not about how much you pay your brokerage. It's how much value and support and services you receive back from your broker. And does it fit within your business model, right? Does it fit, are you proud to be, part of some organization, whether it is Coldwell Banker, Compass, KW, ReMax, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It could be an independent, whatever that may be, you need to be prideful. And if it was all about cost, every top producer would be at 100% flat fee company with no services or support, right? But it's not, because none of them are. So, they spread around through all the way through. So when you look at, Megaphone and tools like that, and I think KW has Command, and I don't know, that is similar, but, when you look at Megaphone is really so that agents don't have to understand the Facebook ad manager or the Instagram ad manager or whatever it is. All they have to do is understand what that, like you said, put an advertising budget and set and forget. And, for most agents, that's perfect. For some agents, they want to dive deeper. Oh my goodness. Dive deeper.
So my bad. I didn't mean to call out the other brokerages. I'm just very partial to ReMax agents because.
No. Listen, but I'm just saying,
But actually, that's a good point, because listen, every brokerage, like every agent, is going to have a different strategy with their technology and what they deliver to their agents, because at the end of the day, their agents want something different. Their business is set up different. And what I can tell you, just having worked with the entire team at ReMax, what has excited me, especially working with them and ReMax agents across the country, is they really are putting a lot behind the tech. Yes, every now and then rollouts and things break with technology. That's natural, that's normal. But what I can tell you is they have some smart people building the technology, and there's a lot of pieces coming together that, quite frankly, ReMax is going to be ahead of the game when it compares to other competitors. It may not get the press, and they may not be the big behemoth like some of the other brands out there, but they are putting the actual work behind it to make it the best in class.
Well, I think, as far as mindset, right? It's consumer in mind, right?
Yep.
And that's what we're going after, and that's what most companies are going after. But when you look at it, let's get back to something that I wanted to ask you about. So, as far as a Google profile, right? HomeSnap does a really good job with their, and I think they have specials and stuff like that for the first year or whatever. But what I was interested in, and I never really knew what HomeSnap was prior to Megaphone coming on board, and then I started looking at it. And HomeSnap really does optimize your Google business profile for that year if you do the HomeSnap Pro. And it's really freaking cool, because now I can text, because the one thing that I had a problem with, the reason why I did not ask for reviews on Google, was because it's so difficult. Because you got to copy and paste the thing, and then it may come up, it may not come up, because it may be a different search history or whatever. So what HomeSnap Pro has done is it allows you to actually text, requests for reviews for HomeSnap. So that, in itself, for your business page, is worth whatever you have to pay for a year.
And through us managing your Google business profile, you also have access to all of the agents in your office that load up, and now you can text them with essentially one click a review link, so they can review you. So if, let's say, you don't want to ask your clients again, you can have other agents in your office you've done a deal with review you, and so you can boost up those numbers. But Dave, the Google business profile is the #1 thing an agent needs to start managing. If they do not have one, they need to go out and create one immediately, because what is happening on Google in the next couple of years is about to change the way consumers find real estate agents. Before, it was all about making sure you had a great Zillow profile with reviews, all your listings attached. Google is now putting agents directly in front of those searches when consumers are doing them for very generic things like listing agent near me, best real estate agent near me, homes for sale near me, right? After this broadcast, if everybody wanted to go right now and do a quick Google search for best real estate agent or listing real estate agent, San Diego, California. What you'll find is right at the top of Google is what's called Google Screened now. Google is now allowing consumers to call agents directly from their first search. We've been actually piloting this in beta with a number of agents, and we are seeing tremendous results in terms of getting good connections from a Google search to an agent directly. And so it's basically Google taking the next step in our industry to put you in front of that consumer, so they aren't sending the consumer to another portal or to another website for that consumer to just get lost into searching. If they have a question, it's about connecting them to someone in the age of assistance.
And how are agents being able to get up on, would you call it Google Screen?
So the little badge, you'll notice it is a little green check mark, and it says Google Screen. It basically means that you have gone through the Google verification process. So they actually check to make sure you have E&O insurance. They will do a background check. Once you have the Google screen, you can use that in all of your marketing materials from then on. But then you also start showing up as one of those top agents as people are searching. The nice thing about it's the new ad product on Google is called Google Local Services. It's actually been live in a number of the home services categories like plumbers, electricians, HVAC as well. And now it's reaching real estate because they've realized that the inventory, the consumers are searching, and it exists to connect the agents to those ads. So instead of paying a cost per click, it's actually paying a cost per lead, which is a lot different, which means you get a ton of awareness on Google, but then you also only pay for the good stuff that's hitting your phone.
And does HomeStat manage that, or do you have to manage it yourself?
Yeah, so you can do one of two ways. You can go in, and if you're in Google AdWords, you can set it up yourself. The process to get Google screened can be pretty intensive, so you just have to stick with it, and then you can set it up yourself within Google AdWords. However, since HomeSnap has a direct partnership along with ReMax with Google, we're able to actually verify you a lot easier and get you live within just a couple of days, and then that's when you start showing up. And the nice thing about the Google local services ads through HomeSnap and Megaphone is we actually record every call. So if, let's say, you get spam or it's not a quality lead, we actually dispute that with Google on your behalf so that we can get that credited to your account. So there's a ton of additional benefits for us managing your Google local services if you don't want to go the route of trying to do it yourself.
Is that the concierge? Is that what that is? Or
yeah, it's all part of concierge.
Okay.
Concierge at the end of the day is a really custom approach. So if you were an agent that said, hey, listen, I want to spend $500, I only want to spend $1,000 a month on my digital advertising, then you actually work one-on-one with a digital marketing manager and you set up your custom curated campaigns, and you can play around with what networks, what different ads that you want to utilize, depending on what you want to do for your digital goals. So it is Google Local Services is part of Concierge.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we didn't want concierge and we just wanted the HomeSnap to manage our verification, like the screening and then the local ads services, we could do that as well.
Yeah, and the nice thing about it is if you're a team lead or like yourself, if you do lead generation for the office and you do a round robin, you can go ahead and set it up where you can lead route essentially through your back end so that, you know, when you get that phone call, Google Voice picks up so you know it's coming directly from Google, and then you fire away.
Okay, awesome. That's really, really good stuff. So I'd be remiss to not mention some kind of acquisition here, So, we were talking a little bit off camera, and, it's interesting. And I find this stuff like so freaking interesting to see, the Microsofts versus the Apples, and then the Google and the Apple trying to go in, and then now Netflix, all these competitors, right? They're all vying for the same kind of thing. And I love it because I'm competitive by nature. So, Zillow and CoStar seem to be both in the data business, right? So, Zillow goes, takes and buys Dotloop a few years ago, and now CoStar, which originally was, mostly a commercial product, when they purchased LoopNet. I mean, the one thing that they say about CoStar, and I agree with it 100%. First of all, we know it's expensive and such, but the information is accurate. So that's already a leg up on a Zillow, where it's already perceived that Zillow is somewhat inaccurate in data, mainly because they've done things that this is going to sound awful, but some things have been perceived as a bait and switch, right? So they put together foreclosures, and just by doing list pendants or judgments in the public system, it'll show them like they're available, and people will call them and whatever, or they won't know who the listing agent is, or the Zestimate is way off because it's waterfront and they're taking, condos in country clubs. So, so that kind of stuff, really kind of rubs consumers the wrong way. But the one thing with CoStar is it's very, very accurate, and it's very, very specific and targeted to the particular property and owners. So, CoStar buys HomeSnap. I guess they're in the data company of business a little bit.
Wow, Inman really does know how to spin a competitive narrative, pit two people against two people. There's plenty of room for both of us to play in the space. Now, the way so I'm excited about the merger. I'm really excited. There will be things that, being a small company of 150 people, HomeSnap, we just wouldn't be able to do. 5-10 years from now we'll be able to do next year, right? So it just really adds a whole nother element. I'm approaching this as so my sister's 10 years older than me, right? And so when I was 10, she was 20, and she started dating. And so she brought home, which is, now my brother-in-law. I think of CoStar as now our big older brother that's just really cool, knows how to do a bunch of stuff. And so me as a 10, 11-year-old kid can look up to the big brother, or now brother-in-law, and be like, hey, I've got a lot to learn. They're going to help me out. And so that's the way I think about this merger, in a sense, is they built a great business on the commercial side, not just using the data and providing it and putting it into easy to use formats for commercial brokers. But then they've done that in the multifamily space with apartments.com, what they were able to do with the marketing campaign with Jeff Goldblum. We've seen Zillow's retreat in the rental business, quite frankly. There's a reason why they have cut off the data feeds from the MLS, and they're now charging on their site for each rental listing per week. They need to make money off of it because they don't have the eyeballs anymore on the rental side because of apartments.com and what CoStar was able to do. So we're going to take all of that knowledge from those other businesses and apply it to the residential space. And what we know, and it's not just our commitment as employees of HomeSnap and bearers of the torch, but also what has been conveyed by Andy, the CEO of CoStar, is, listen, the industry, brokers, and agents are our number one customer. We want to make sure that they are front and center, that it's always your listing, your lead, that we do you right. And that's our commitment as we think about building out the next version of HomeSnap and what that means.
Love it.
I probably said too much. Now I'm going to get an earful from our director of communications
office. No, but when you look at it, right? Listen, we all talk about Zillow and stuff like that, and there are things that we love about Zillow, because quite honestly, it's like the old adage, any press is good press, even if it's negative press, right? So Zillow has put more eyes on the online portals, right? They put more people online searching for homes. They've given more information to a consumer, so the consumer can be a little bit more knowledgeable and understand what they're doing. But I think it's great that CoStar's coming in, because now when you're looking at it, if what you say is accurate, if their number one objective is brokers and agents, right? Brokers and agents are advocates for their consumer, and we weed out, honestly, bad people, and hopefully, the industry will continue to perpetuate professionalism within that industry, so that we weed out the bad apples in the real estate field. But that being said, we can help consumers a lot more than a online portal. We know the story of a home. We know, there was a water main break, several years ago, and they had to remediate mold, in that particular. We know that the Chinese drywall scare, or not even a scare, Chinese drywall crisis, happened. We know all these different things. And what Zillow seems to do, and this isn't a bash or anything, it's just, what Zillow seems to do is they want to continue to, gnaw at you, and try and take, money and this and this, and I kind of equate it to developers, right? So developers for many, many years were cooperating with brokers. And then like 2005 hit, right? 2004, 2005. The developers like, I don't need the realtor. Forget it. I don't need the realtor. And they stopped cooperating with realtors. A lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them said, you know what, I don't want them. I don't need them. And you see developers now trying to do that as well, where they're lowering percentages and such, right? Well, realtors have a long memory. When you mess with 1.4 million people in the United States, it's really, really bad business, right? So, like, if you want to withstand, I mean, we have long memories, and we want to make sure. And I still, to this day, know what developers try to affect my business and try to steal my clients, based on I couldn't represent them unless I had a buyer brokerage where my buyer is going to end up paying my commission. So listen, I love it.
And I'll be very frank. And full disclosure, when I was in general brokerage, I ran my business for 2 years primarily off of Zillow leads. So I'll full disclosure, I'm guilty of feeding the machine. But think about just why the Premier Agent program got started, right? What was happening in our industry? Well, there was no real centralized place online where the vast majority of people were going, whether we realized it or not, in 2010, 2012, to search for homes online. So Zillow was able to start cornering the market for how people were trending in what they were doing online and searching for real estate, right? But then you had the same trend in our industry with these mega teams and building a team. Like everybody wanted to build a team, right? Well, what do you need to do when you build a team? Feed your agents leads, especially those buyer agents, those newbies that you brought on board and are training up, right? And so the Premier Agent system was perfect for that. Flash forward to 2020, I think we're realizing that maybe building a mega team isn't the best approach. The profit margin isn't there anymore a lot of times. Maybe the best approach is being that single agent with an awesome admin that's doing 40 to 50 deals, keeping your costs low so that you are more profitable, but yet you have automation in the rest of your process so that you're productive and you have balance in your day-to-day activities, right? But the nice thing about it is Google's going the same way. CoStar's commitment with HomeSnap is going the same way, and it's putting that agent first so that now it's consumer forward. And so instead of connecting that consumer to someone who will just pick up the phone and respond to them, it's connecting them to the person who will pick up the phone that knows everything about that house that they've listed for someone that they've known for 30 years in the neighborhood that they live in. And that's really what it comes down to.
Quality over quantity, putting the right people on that bus and kicking the wrong people off the bus. And these mega teams have realized that, you don't want to just put bodies, because a mega team was really just a brokerage within a brokerage. And, and I know that at least, the way we run our business is that we can't hire everyone. We're doing a disservice to new agents in many cases because we don't have a new agent system. We don't have new agent training. We wouldn't spend the amount of time that's necessary to build up a new agent. But we do have experienced agents, so we know what we do, very well, and we support and all that kind of stuff. Yep. Listen, I've taken a lot of your time, and I certainly appreciate it. So I always
conversation.
No, it's awesome. I love it, man. I love it. So, always the last two questions I ask at the end of the show is, first of all, what's your favorite streaming series, Netflix, Hulu, whatever, and then what are you currently watching?
Oh, so just finished watching Queen's Gambit, which was solid. I really did love that. And then it's December 1st, and so my wife loves Christmas and the holidays. So this weekend we were decorating after Thanksgiving, but to save my sanity, we've come to terms with a rule. December 1st is when we can start watching holiday movies. More specifically, all the Hallmark and Lifetime movies.
That's awesome.
So that's what we will be watching for the next 24 and a half days.
That's funny, yeah. So I got two shows. One, I'm watching Undoing, which is unbelievable. I mean, there's only 6 episodes, about 6 hours long. And I started last night about, 9 o'clock. And at 1:30, I had to shut it off because I'm like, I got to go to bed. So it's really good. It's with Nicole Kidman and Hugh Grant and like really good cast. And then the other one was Kingdom. And if you haven't seen Kingdom, my wife liked it and she doesn't like mixed martial arts, but it's about a guy who owns a mixed martial arts gym. But it really is not about MMA. It's really about the story, and it was awesome. It was one of my favorite series. So, anyway,
nice. I can tell you what show I didn't watch last night, and that was my Eagles on Monday Night Football. Talk about saving my sanity. I just couldn't do it to myself. Did projects around the house.
Yeah, 2020, where the Eagles are bad and the Dolphins are good. Who knew? So thanks so much, Bill. I really, really appreciate it. In summary, right? If you're a real estate agent or broker, get your Google profile verified, get it screened, and start working on it for reviews. Look into HomeSnap. HomeSnap does it really easily. They've already done it. I've used it. I'll tell you what the unintended consequence was. When I started asking for reviews of past clients I haven't spoken to in 5, 6, maybe even 10 years, I got referrals out of it as well, just because I was contacting them, asking them for a review. And they said, oh, yeah, my friend is looking for a house, right? So make sure that, you do that as well. Get that account up. And, communities. Making sure that you farm communities digitally is a great way. And look out for new things coming in 2021 and such. So, Bill, without further ado, thank you so much. I really appreciate everything coming on the show and such. And Breakfast with the Broker every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Thanks again. Take care, guys. Have a great week.